Okay, so social studies. So last week we talked about kind of like geography stuff, like maps and things like that. We're going to use that stuff starting this week. Social studies in sixth grade centers around ancient civilizations. So we are going to be talking about really, really old things, things that took place a super long time ago, and then kind of go forward in time. But it's still all going to be ancient to start out with. Well, the whole quarter year. So we're going to start with Mesopotamia. Has anybody ever heard of Mesopotamia?
No.
Cool. This will be fun then. We're going to start by watching a video. It's kind of an overarching view of Mesopotamia. We're going to do kind of an introduction PowerPoint, quick little like quiz just to see what you guys learned just on the first day. We're going to learn more about it. It's not like the quiz is going to make or break your grade. And the quiz is all based off the PowerPoint we're going to do anyway. So you'll be able to do the quiz as we go along. But I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to start off with an amazing video that you guys are going to absolutely love. I just know it. Okay, can you see my screen? Alrighty, so we are going to listen to this song.
Yeah.
The Ancient Mesopotamia song by Mr. Nicky. Again, you're just going to love it. So let's make sure okay, you guys are already there. All your mics stay off during this so that we don't get any like of that feedback, and enjoy the video. Here we go.
Euphrates River. Hey, I got a new lesson for you about ancient Mesopotamia. Euphrates River and the Tigris River form the cradle of civilization. Chariots long ago, conquered Sumer took control. Sauron led his armies in their chariots. They rolled by the Euphrates River, by the Euphrates River, by the Euphrates River, by the Euphrates River, by the Persian Gulfs where they found ancient ruins underground. Archaeologists did lots of excavation down by the Euphrates River, by the Euphrates River, by the Euphrates River, both the Euphrates River and the Tigris River used to flood, bringing lots of fertile mud. But the problem was that water washed away the crops. Dams and levees made it stop when it was dry. They'd irrigate. Fighting over water led to war between the city-states. Uniform ancient writing that tells us Sumer city-states were always fighting. They were the first civilization in Mesopotamia. Then came the Akkadians who started Empire Mania. Akkadians long ago conquered Sumer, took control. Sargon led his armies in their chariots. They rolled by the Euphrates River, by the Euphrates River, by the Euphrates River, by the Euphrates River, near the Persian Gulfs where they found ancient ruins underground. Archaeologists did lots of excavation down by the Euphrates River, by the Euphrates River, by the Euphrates River, by the Euphrates River. King Sargon got real old, his sons take the throne, but the huge Akkadian empire would fall out of their control. Then came Hammurabi, who would take full command. Hammurabi was the king of the Babylonians, man. Babylonia was the land where they told you obey Hammurabi's code, praise Hammurabi's code, break Hammurabi's code, and you'll be saying, oh no. Akkadians long ago conquered Sumer, took control. Sargon led his armies in their chariots. They rolled by the Euphrates River, by the Euphrates River, by the Euphrates River, by the Euphrates River, near the Persian Gulfs where they found ancient ruins underground. Archaeologists did lots of excavation down by the Euphrates River, by the Euphrates River, by the Euphrates River, by the Euphrates River. Babylonians built roads Mesopotamia.
Can we watch it one more time?
Not that.
No. We are probably
Why
going to
not?
watch it every single time. Not every single time, but to start off the thing.
I didn't really
Guys,
get it.
can we like not comment all of the things in it? I understand that you don't get it yet because we're going to talk about it, but that was just an introduction into the whole thing. So Mesopotamia, it said it. Did you guys know the original song by Crank That, or it's called Crank That Soldier?
Yeah, I heard the original
Okay.
song.
Yeah, that was like a big song when I was growing up. So that was funny to me. But the Mesopotamia and ancient civilizations were formed and built around rivers. Their main thing was that they needed to be built by rivers, or else they weren't going to last because they needed the water to be able to survive. So they kept saying by the Euphrates River. I'm sure. Did you guys catch that? Okay, right. So the Euphrates River is near the Persian Gulf, which we'll see some maps and stuff. But they built Mesopotamia right along the Euphrates River, in between Euphrates River and the Tigris River, because they needed those water like sources to be able to survive in ancient times. It's not like now where we have pipes that take water wherever we really need it. They had to build near water. And that's kind of a big running theme about ancient civilizations, that it needs to be near water. Okay. So you guys can still see my screen, correct? All right.
Yes.
A little bit ago, posted a social studies assignment all the way down the bottom called Ancient Mesopotamia Quiz. That has the PowerPoint in it that we're going to talk about, so you can open the PowerPoint if you'd like to. You don't have to. You can watch it on my screen if you want. And then there's also a Google form that has a quiz on it. All of these questions are going to be answered in the PowerPoint. So you're more than welcome to have the Google form open as we talk about these things and just answer questions as we go. It's kind of a check for me to get that you're listening and understanding Mesopotamia, not necessarily as a grade, but I do want you to still complete it. Does that make sense? Make sure you're completing it as we go.
Yes.
We can review the questions real quick before. So obviously first and last name, please. And then the first one says, most of ancient Mesopotamia is located in modern day what? So what country is most of Mesopotamia located in? The next one you'll be looking for, why is Mesopotamia known as the Fertile Crescent? That one is a big one for
Miss Jones.
Yeah.
I have an idea what number one is.
You do already?
I think I might know what it is.
I know the answer, but that's because
So
I
you're
do
not
have
gonna
the
take
answer.
these as a grade, Miss Jones?
no, it's not necessarily going to be for a grade, but I do check off the fact that you have completed these things. So when I give you your list of missing things,
For 10 points.
this is part of your missing work if you don't do it. So doing it while we talk about it is going to be the best way to make sure it's done. And
Can I say what
okay.
I think it is?
no, we'll go over it.
Okay.
It's for 10 points.
I understand it's for 10 points. We have to put it as something or else you guys won't do it. So Fertile Crescent. Number 3, which children were allowed to go to school in ancient Mesopotamia? So there could potentially have been restrictions or there was not. We'll figure that out.
I know what
The
it is.
next one is why were the ziggurats built so tall? And we're going to talk about that as well, but that one you'll need to write a complete sentence in. The next one, what are some of the things that the ancient Mesopotamians invented? So ancient people invented a lot of the things that we use now. So we will check off the ones that they invented as we go. And then the final question there, Skylar, please mute your mic. And then the last question there is, how many gods did the people of Mesopotamia worship? So a lot of ancient civilizations use different, like they worship a lot of different gods, and our current religions have evolved from ancient religions. So it's interesting to see how they've evolved, but we'll talk about those too. So we've got, yeah, if it's raining where you guys are and you get kicked out, just log back in. Hopefully it doesn't affect too much, but just log back in and catch back up. It's not raining here, so hopefully I don't lose internet. That would be fun if I got kicked out. But let's go ahead and start our, whatever it's called, presentation. Can you guys see my screen? Ancient Mesopotamia. I can't see you, so I need like a yes.
Yes.
Thank
and
you.
I've heard of Babylon.
Yeah, it's yeah, we'll talk about it too. So ancient Mesopotamia, let's start here. This PowerPoint is very much an introduction to Mesopotamia. It does not cover everything. We are not going to be able to cover everything about it, but if you find it super interesting, you are more than welcome to look up more stuff about it. You don't have to be confined to just the week that we're going to spend on Mesopotamia. If you want to keep researching it on your own time, you're more than welcome to. I think it's a super cool, all the ancient civilizations are super cool. So don't let what we're learning about and just the small sections that we're learning about stop you from exploring it more. Okay, so our introduction, let's start with this. Mesopotamia, number one. Most of ancient Mesopotamia is located in what is now modern-day Iraq. That might be an answer to a question, just so you know. So Iraq is over in the Middle East, kind of like, so you got Europe over here, right, and Africa, and it's kind of over here. That didn't make much sense. Maybe there's a, hopefully there's a map soon. Number two, Mesopotamia is Greek for the land between the rivers, because the Tigris River is to the north of Mesopotamia, and the Euphrates River was to the south. And it was known as the Fertile Crescent because of the rich soil that was ideal for farming. So, let's see. Let me draw a picture. Well, is there a, nope, okay.
Do you not make these PowerPoints?
Nope. So
Who does?
the way that we do this, a lot of the stuff that we have, Mrs. Mills has gotten over the years, which is Miss Bradley, because she taught social studies and science before 6th grade went to like teaching all subjects like we do now. So because of that, she has a lot of resources, and we use the stuff that she's collected over the years. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right. So I might need to exit out so I can see you guys. We were talking a little bit about, so the Fertile Crescent is where, you can ignore my to-do list.
We can't really see it.
Not at
No,
all?
Not really.
Better?
Not, yeah.
I'm Mexican.
Sorry, this is pretty much as good as it's going to get.
That's
Can you
better.
see the two lines, though, the big lines? A little bit?
Yeah, we can. I can see it.
Okay, so the one squiggly line over here, that would be like where the Euphrates River was. And then the one coming straight down is the Tigris River. And these two rivers connected at one point, but they split off and went in two ways. And the area in between is where Mesopotamia was, because they had access to both rivers. And because it was built in between, this area right here is called the Fertile Crescent, which again might be an answer. Okay.
What was the river called when they were like put together?
I don't know. We're gonna have to look that one up. I'm not entirely sure, and the name may have changed by now. Honestly, a lot of names of places have changed since then. All right.
Is it still there?
The rivers?
Yeah.
I believe so. Yeah.
And
I'd have to look it up.
and also that big city, like, is it still there? Like, just
Kind of the ruins of it. So where like archaeologists went and dug and stuff, The ruins are there, but not like the actual city. Like you would not be able to live there anymore.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like all the buildings and stuff are probably
Yeah.
there, just nobody else lives there.
Yeah, the ones that have survived long enough are there. I'm sure we could look up pictures. Maybe I'll find some for tomorrow before we start. But not like anything that someone could actually live in anymore. Alrighty. We'll go back to the PowerPoint. So we just kind of answered what the Fertile Crescent was. Because they were so close to the rivers would flood and leave behind soil that was really, really good to do their farming in, which means that they could grow crops and stuff to be able to eat. They could fish near the rivers, but they definitely stayed close to rivers in that time period. Going off into the desert was not your best option during that time. So they stayed close to the rivers because they could build a civilization there. Okay. The next one, did I skip one? Nope. Some inventions and ideas. Mesopotamia is credited with many inventions and ideas. The Pythagorean theorem is one. This would be the checkbox one if you want to pull up your Google form and do your checkboxes. They invented the Pythagorean theorem, which is a math theory that you actually probably will start using in 8th grade, maybe 7th, possibly. But the Pythagorean theorem they invented. They also invented the wheel, units of weight, so the ability to weigh something and say, this is 10 pounds. They invented that. Irrigation, which is how water gets from one area to another one. Writing. They talked about it in the song video called the hieroglyphs. They have a version of those that they wrote. Laws as well. They said this a lot. The Hammurabi Code, that is a really big, it's like one of the very first known instances where somebody was like in charge, created laws, and people had to follow them. Things like an eye for an eye, a hand for a hand were kind of the back then type of things. Wasn't the most civilized thing, but they created laws. They created the place value using 0, which we use all the time. They created arches and columns, which is helpful for buildings. They created measuring time using the sun, the moon, and the stars. So quite a few things there. Do you guys need a minute to answer a few questions on the thing?
Some of them that are like arch and column aren't on the checkbox list.
That's all right. Just check the ones that you can see that are there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll give you about 1 minute, and then we'll keep going. Alrighty. So if anything, if you didn't get it all, this PowerPoint is attached to the same assignment on Google Classroom, so you can always pull up the PowerPoint to help you with the Google form later. You won't have to rewatch the video. So our next slide talks about the religion. These are just some of the gods that they worshipped, but this will be an answer to one of your questions. Mesopotamia worshipped hundreds of gods, like lots, hundreds of gods. So they have Anu, which is the father of the gods and the god of the sky, which if you think about it, if you think about Roman mythology, Greek mythology, Egyptian mythology, they all have like a father of the gods, the god of the sky. They just have different names. A lot of ancient religions worship the same gods, the same types of gods, but they all have different names depending on the culture that they're from, which I think is super interesting. So if you think about Greek mythology, Zeus is the father of the gods and the god of the sky. What's his name in Roman mythology? I don't remember what it is. That's all right though. Oh well. Number 8, we have Enlil, the god of the air. Number 9, Utu is the god of the sun, truth, and justice. Number 10, Nana is god of the moon. Number 11, Inanna is god of love and war. Number 12, Ninhursag is goddess of the earth. Number 13, Enkai is god of fresh water, lord of wisdom and magic. These are just a few to be listed. There are hundreds of gods, and they all are worshipped for different parts of the life that the ancient Mesopotamians were living. Most of the gods had to do with survival type things. So they had, so if we think about, let's see, number 13, Enkai, god of fresh water. They would pray and do their sacrifices and things to him so that they could have fresh water. So they believed that if they were to pray and give sacrifices like food and things like that to the gods, they would get the good things in return. Okay? How we doing? You guys doing all good? Doing good? Alrighty. Oh, that's not the right one.
Good.
Excellent. Ziggurat.
We could watch it again though.
We will at the end. I'll play it one more time.
That's funny. I like that thing.
All
That's
right.
funny.
Ziggurats, which is okay. Well, ziggurats were temples that were originally built on platforms. So they're these huge, massive buildings that are basically at the center of the major cities. Number 15 says they eventually built them higher with steps, so that the higher up you went in the ziggurat, the closer you could be to the gods. Number 16 says that they were the center of every town, and most people spent their time in or around them. They set up marketplaces right around the ziggurats. The kids and stuff that went to school would be in the ziggurat. A lot of religious ceremonies were inside the ziggurats or at the top. But the ziggurat was like the main place in town where a lot of like social things would be. So they would have the schools, entertainment, people selling all kinds of things there. So it was like the main hub of town, kind of like how downtown is for Winslow. You have food there, you got entertainment, there's places to go buy things. So we don't have one big building in Winslow that would represent a ziggurat, but we do have the same type of area where people will congregate and have festivals and things like that. So ziggurats were like the social hub of town. Okay. Any questions about ziggurats?
I wonder how long it took to build it. Years,
Probably
maybe.
a really long time. I have no idea. We can look that up. But I bet it was a pretty long time. These cities were built over a long time. 'Cause it's
I wonder if they were built by like mostly stones.
they were.
They
I
were
don't
like
know.
really strong.
Yeah, I don't think it was necessarily the Mesopotamian people that did this, but I know Egyptians got so good at carving stone to be exactly as they wanted it that like their stuff is like some of the most flawless pieces of like stonework ever, like that kind of stuff. But they did build these out of stone and mud to like hold things together. When you think of like something ancient, it's a lot of clay and stone molded together, right? All right. Our next part, the woman's role. So the role of women in ancient Mesopotamia. I apologize, girls. This might make you very mad. Number 18, a woman's role was very strictly defined. Number 19, most girls are trained to be the wife, the mother, or the housekeeper. They learned how to grind the grain, cook, or make beverages. They learned how to make the clothing, and then at around 12 years old, they were ready to be married and they'd be shipped off to their husband. That was a woman's role.
Dang, that sounds kind of messed up.
It is kind of messed up. Women weren't really given any rights at all. They were basically there to cook, clean, and raise the children. That's about it.
So what did the guys do?
Well, we'll talk about that on the next slide.
Oh, okay.
Yep. But that's what the women did. That always makes me mad to talk about.
I cannot
Not
hear
very
you.
equal. Didn't fix it. Can you hear us now?
Help. I cannot hear you. Help me.
Like today, women are kind of like today because like our moms do all that stuff for us.
Not everybody's mother does that.
Well, I know what to do, okay?
A lot of people, so yes, you will find a lot of moms that will cook and clean and do all that stuff, but that's not the only thing that women are raised to do. At this point, for one, women are allowed to go to school. That's a major thing. We're allowed to get jobs. We can do pretty much anything that we'd like to do in society. Whereas in ancient times, it was almost like the man owned the woman, essentially. Right? Okay. Let's go ahead and keep it going. Let's talk about, I think the next one is the men's role. Yep. So 23 says that the boys were trained very early on in their ages to farm, work, and provide for the family. So they were very young and they immediately started to learn how to do these things. Number 24 says that only boys were able to go to school. Women and girls were not allowed to. School was popular for people to go to, even though teachers were super strict.
I finished. Can I turn it in?
Yeah, that's fine. If you think teachers nowadays are strict, then no.
Miss
We're not.
Jones, when I
Yeah.
turned it in, it says I got it wrong, and then on the writing when I put the answer for what it was supposed to be, but it says I got it wrong, and I only missed one word.
Yeah, for written ones, if you don't type it exactly as whoever made it wrote it, it's gonna mark it wrong. But I go in and I check over your guys' stuff. I don't just take the score as a grade. I look it over first. So it might say it's
Okay.
wrong, but I go back in and I give you points if it's correct.
Okay.
Okay. Number 26. Men felt that education and writing was the only way to grow and do something for themselves and their families. So becoming educated and being able to write was going to take men farther in life than not being able to do those things. You can kind of say the same now, but most people are raised to read and write.
I still can't hear. Help.
Oh, you laughed. Okay. Let's keep going. Our next one for writing. Number 27, it says cuneiform was the earliest
Now
known
can hear.
form of writing. So these marks over here are called cuneiform, and then over here you have like hieroglyph type things. So they drew pictures as a way of communicating for words. We don't do that now. Well, technically, a letter is a picture, right? But anyway, they created a series of wedge-shaped signs that they pressed into clay using a stylus. So they used wet clay. They wrote their words, and the clay would dry. So it's not like now where we could erase everything and try it again. It's very permanent stuff, right? But they recorded like everything. They kept such thorough records about their farming and how they did life that's how we know about them. Because if you think about it, people that lived in ancient Mesopotamia are not alive now, so we can't ask them, hey, what was life like? We have to look at their old ancient writings, their cities and things like that to even figure out how they lived. So the fact that they learned and created a form of writing and were able to write down how they lived is super advanced for that time.
What time was this at? Like, what time in year was it?
Let me Google it.
Because it had to be a very, 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 very long time ago.
Yep. Let's see.
Probably when cavemen were alive.
About 3,100 BC, which is the before Christ, which means it was like, so it was like 4,500 to 3,100 BC. So we're
That
in,
was a long time ago.
yeah, we're in 2020, not 2019. Everybody's just trying to forget that 2020 is a thing. So we're in 2020, which means it's been 2,020 years since AD, like after Christ's death, right? So the AD is over here after death. BC, before Christ, is over here on a timeline. So Mesopotamia starts about 4,500 years before the time where we distinguish like before and after Christ. Does that make sense?
Geez, that's a long time.
It's a very long time ago. A super, super long time ago.
They're older than
for us,
Christopher
it's about-
Columbus.
So they were here way before, like, George
I was
Washington
81
was born?
years old at that time.
Hang on, guys. Well, yeah, no, I'll
I was 81 that time.
let's go ahead and keep going. So our next part
Whoa.
is about the Hanging Gardens of Babylon. This is technically one of the 7 ancient wonders of the world. So there are the modern wonders of the world, which is things like I want to say the Empire State Building is a modern wonder of the world, like it was built in modern times. But then there's the ancient wonders of the world, which were built in ancient times that we really only have pictures of because most have been destroyed. The Hanging Gardens of Babylon are one of those. So it was built around 600 BC. So that's the before Christ era. It's about 80 feet tall because it was huge. About 80 feet tall, which is about 8 stories high in a building. And then 50 miles long, which is about the stretch of road from Winslow to Flagstaff.
That's
So,
insane.
yeah, that would be like a building that started where you get off of the highway in Winslow and goes all the way till you get off the highway in Flagstaff. And it's 8 stories tall, and you're just driving along next to it the whole time.
That
That's how
would
big
take
it
you
was.
a very long
Jeez,
time. That might take you most
Yes.
of your life.
It would.
especially if they were mostly made out of stones.
Yeah. It probably
Holy
took
cow.
several lifetimes to make these. And a lot of people probably died making it as well.
Because of how worn out they get.
Yeah, or just like falling stone and things like that too. It probably
Yeah.
wasn't the most sturdy.
Mhm.
And we know it wasn't the most sturdy because there was an earthquake somewhere between 300 and 200 BC. So about 300 to 400 years after this building was built, there was an earthquake and it destroyed it. So we only really have like artist recreations of it. We don't really have the true stones and stuff from it anymore. There
Like
might be
the
some I can
the
Google.
true forms of the building.
Right.
But that did last a long time. But it could be a different time because when you go back that far, it's not that accurate
Right.
because you
agree.
have no idea how far it was.
Yeah, we can't be completely sure. A lot of this is like really educated guesses based on artifacts and like writings that they found that are ancient. So like pottery and stuff like that will tell us about the time periods that things were built and all of that stuff. So they use things like that to figure out the timeline of ancient civilizations. Okay, I think we got.
So this is not even made what they have looked like a long time ago.
No, these are like artist recreations. This is probably not actually what it looked like, but an artist drew this. I have no idea who or when. This could have been drawn in ancient times. I doubt that. Or it was drawn more recently about what they assume it looked like. So yeah.
I would
That,
take a. That's just crazy.
Yeah. It takes a
From
really
here
long
to Flagstaff.
time.
An 80-foot thing for 50 miles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's a long time. Yeah.
Dang.
When I submit the test, it says that I didn't take it.
Oh. Let me go check. But that's all we're gonna do today. I can play the video again for you if you'd like to hear it again. And now that you know some more stuff about Mesopotamia, it might make more sense. But hang on, let me check this really quick.
Kayla, your mic isn't off.
Oh, sorry.
I can see that you took it, so you're good. I don't know why. It's been doing that lately where it tells you didn't take it, but I can see that you did. So I have a response for this.
Okay.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
that's what it did. So one of my tests too.
I marked it as done.
yeah, I don't know why it does that sometimes. But
Did that to my final test.
yeah. So we did our PowerPoint. The PowerPoint is attached to the classroom assignment. So make sure you go out and finish up that form if you have not. That's kind of the homework for today. We're going to talk more about Mesopotamia tomorrow. So I will.
Can I watch the video?
Yeah, I'm going to play the video one more